Welcome to an RPG in a Box video tutorial. In this video, we're going to take a look at ladders. We're going to start by taking a look at the ladder that you find in the asset library. And we'll talk about how to build a ladder in the map editor and how to make a ladder work so that you can climb up and down it. We're also going to take a look at an instance where ladders don't work. And I'm going to talk about why that is and how to get around it, how to resolve it. And then at the very end, we'll also take a look at how to make your own ladder from scratch. If you want to model your own ladder, what you need to make a ladder work in terms of the model itself and also the player model and things to bear in mind. So with that said, let's get started. So here we have the ladder piece from the asset library. So what we're going to do is, first of all, take a look at how do you make a ladder work. If you've just imported from the asset library, so we'll click on the asset library. If you've just imported this ladder piece, how do you then use it in your game? So let's say we want to climb up to the top of this wall here. So what you do is you select your ladder piece, and on the map editor on the right hand side will be this panel here that deals with the height of the grid. And this is the placement height where tiles are placed on this grid. Now it's important to note, ladders need to be tiles, not objects. So if you've made a ladder by yourself, but you've made it as an object, it's not going to work. It needs to be a tile, because only tiles hold navigational information, which is these sort of green lines that you can see here. But also the ladder itself will need to have navigational information that tells the game that you can climb up and down it. So you won't be able to do that with an object. So make sure if you're making a ladder from scratch, make sure you make it as a tile, not an object. And we'll get to that at the end of the video when we make our own. So we'll click the ladder piece, and then you want to make sure that the placement height of your first ladder piece is above the ground. So these tiles here, these dirt tiles, I've placed them at, and you can see in the bottom right-hand corner as I hover over each one. In fact, if I select one, you can see that it's placed at a height of 0. Okay? So if I try and place this first ladder piece at 0, it's going to replace the tile, the ground tile, where I place the ladder, which we don't want. We want the ladder to sit on top of the dirt tile. So we'll undo that. And what you want to do is raise the Z height up by 1, okay? And then you'll be able to place your first ladder piece like that. If you want to know if the ground is going to be replaced, notice how the square box around the ladder is yellow. That means that if you were to click with the square being yellow, it means it's going to replace the tile that you're hovering over. So, whereas if I hover over an empty space, the black space, it goes white, which means the ladder isn't going to, this particular tile isn't going to replace another one. But if it's yellow, it means that in this case, if I click, it's going to delete the tile below, like so, okay? Which we don't want. So if we go up one step, then it means you can see the square is white, which means it's not going to replace a tile. It's got an empty space all of its own, so it will just exist in that space. So there's our first ladder piece. And then what you're going to want to do is go up an entire step. So click the very top button. Now, because of the way these ladders have been made, these particular ladder pieces, you then need to come back down one, because if we right click, by the way, is how you rotate a tile. Okay. But if we go to free mode and have a look, you can see that at 17, it's slightly too high. It's not connected to the piece below it. So we'll just come back down by 1 and click. And then I think that'll probably do. I think we could maybe come up one more. Let's have a look. Let's see if I can go up one more. Yeah. So we'll click like that. Okay. So there's our ladder. Okay. And the reason why there's a gap in between the ladder pieces is if we take a look at the ladder, you can see that it's not completely square. Its width and depth is 16, but its height is 15, which is why when you jump up an entire step, which is 16, you don't have to come back down one because the actual ladder piece is not at 16. So you could edit this, for example, and add an extra voxel on the top, but we'll do that later when we create our own ladder piece. But just be mindful, if you're using the asset library's ladder, you kind of have to lower it by 1 to place the pieces seamlessly together. But there we go. So there's our ladder. Okay, but this isn't going to function as a ladder at the moment. It's just a visual representation of the ladder. We haven't told the map yet to treat it as a ladder. So the first thing we need to do is put the navigation back, because we've placed the ladder, it's now carved out an area where we can't walk. So let's put the walk space back by selecting the navigation tool, using the walk and interact lines, and we'll just paint those back in. Okay, so in order to make a ladder, what we need to do is we need to first of all select each piece of the ladder one by one. So we'll start with the first piece, and you're going to go to the entity properties, and you're going to find where it says climbable, and it will be off by default. We're going to turn that on. As soon as you turn it on, you'll see this icon appear in front of the ladder piece, which denotes that it's been turned into a climbable object. And we need to do that for all of the other pieces. So we'll select this piece, climbable on, and then select the top piece, climbable on. So now they're all climbable objects, okay? However, we're not done yet, because although we've told the ladder that it's climbable, we haven't yet put the navigation in place that tells the game how to climb it. So to do that, what you need to do is you need to click 2 ladder pieces. So we'll select the bottom piece and then hold Shift and click the middle piece. You can only do 2 pieces at a time, so make sure you're selecting only 2 at a time. Once you've got 2 selected, you're going to right click, and in the menu that pops up, you're going to go to Navigation, Interaction, and click Climb. And you'll notice that these arrows start to light up. So there's a green arrow going up on the bottom one and a green arrow going down in the middle one. Okay, let's keep going. So now select the middle one, hold Shift and click the top one, right click, Navigation, Climb. Now you'll see the middle one has both up and down arrows lit up. Okay, so now we've turned the ladder into a climbable ladder. There's just one problem. We're still missing 2 things. First of all, we haven't told the map how we can get onto the ladder. The other thing we haven't told the map is how do we get off the ladder. So we need what are called mount and dismount points. So how do you do those? So it's pretty much the same as what we've just been doing with the ladder, but we're now going to do it with the ground and the top tiles. Okay, so we'll first start with the ground. So we'll click the ground tile, hold Shift and click the first ladder tile, right click, Navigation, Climb, and you'll see that the bottom tile now has 2 up and down arrows. The bottom ladder piece, has 2 up and down arrows lit up. And you'll notice that the bottom ground tile now has a icon in front of it as well, which is the symbol of a ladder with a character in front of it. That's the icon for a mount/dismount point. Okay, so this tile now will allow you to either get onto the ladder if you weren't on it already, or get off the ladder if you were already on it. Okay, we need to do the same at the top. So we select the tile where we want to get off the ladder onto, hold Shift, click the top piece, right click, Navigation, Climb. And now all the ladder pieces, so the top, the middle and the bottom, have all got fully lit up green up and down arrows. This is now a working ladder. And as well as that, you can see a dismount icon on the ground and a dismount icon at the top. So let's save this now and test this in game. So if we walk up to the ladder, we can see that the hotkey appears for the climb button. So if we press C, we attach ourselves to the ladder and we can climb up using the W and S keys. And then we dismount automatically at the top. We can click and walk around, or we can click down on the ground and climb down the ladder automatically. So there we go. So there's our functioning ladder. Now, if you've been following along making your own ladder while following this video, one of two things might have happened. You might have followed this and have now got a working ladder, or you followed this and for some reason the ladder isn't working properly. So let's take a look at that now. So we've built this ladder leading up to the top floor. Let's build a ladder that leads up to the lower floor. Okay, now I've deleted the floor tiles just for a particular reason, but we'll get back to that in a second. But let's now go through the exact same process, making no changes to the process at all. But let's make a ladder that leads to the slightly lower floor. So we'll click the ladder piece. We'll go down to floor 1. Click there. Go up 1 step, but come back down a grid. Click. And then we'll put the navigation back. And then we need to select the first ladder piece, make it climbable. The next ladder piece, make it climbable. And then we'll click and hold Shift to select both ladder pieces. Right click, navigation, climb. And then we'll click the bottom ladder piece, Shift click the floor, right click, navigation, climb. There's our mount point for the ground floor. Click the top floor, Shift click the top ladder piece, right click, navigation, climb. Okay, so everything is made correctly. Okay, so let's now save and test this ladder. So we know that the ladder on the right works, so let's just try going up the ladder on the left. Seems to work fine. So let's now try going back down the ladder. Well, clicking on the ground floor doesn't seem to do anything. I'm not moving. And if I get onto the ladder and try and go down manually by pressing the S key, I don't go down. Instead, I just get thrown off the ladder. Now, the issue you have with ladders might present itself in one of two ways. It might be exactly like this, where you can't go back down, or it might be that when you climb up, you can't get off the ladder. Okay? So why is this happening, and how do you know it's happening, and how can you avoid it happening? The clue that your ladder is not going to work is if all of the ladder pieces are not completely lit up. You see how every single ladder tile, 1, 2, and 3 in this case, both arrows are lit up on every single ladder piece. Whereas in this one, only the bottom one has 2 green arrows up and down lit up. The top piece only has 1 of them lit up. Now, when you have a ladder that's not completely lit up, you're going to have issues climbing up or down it, like we're getting in this case. Why does this happen? When you see this happening, what's causing it? It's all to do with the height of the tile that you're trying to get off the ladder onto, okay? Notice how if I click this tile that I've got selected at the moment, which is this sort of dirt block here, it's actually at coordinate 2, 2, 0. The 0 is the important number. This is the Z height, okay? So notice how this is at a height of 0, because technically it's on the ground floor because I made it 16 units high. This ladder piece is at 16. So the actual tile that I'm trying to get off the ladder onto is lower in height than the ladder piece. So the ladder is at 16, but the tile I'm trying to get off the ladder onto is actually at 0. That doesn't work, okay? If the tile that you're trying to get off the ladder onto is at the same height, it can sometimes be the same height. Your mileage may vary with that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But certainly if the tile is lower, and it doesn't matter how much lower. If this ladder piece was 16, but this tile was 15, it still wouldn't work, okay? It can't be lower or sometimes even the same height. However, if we go over to here and take a look at this ladder that works, this top ladder piece is at the height of 31. The tile I get off of is 32. So it's 1 unit, it's 1 voxel higher than the ladder piece. So it allows you to get off the ladder at that point. Now this can be done to hilarious extremes as well. So for example, let's remove the ladder piece for a moment. And let's add some more grass tiles at a height of, let's say, 64, okay? So this is going to be way above the ladder, okay? Like so. We'll leave the ladder where it is. We'll add one more piece at 31. So it's connected like that. And then we'll click this piece, make it climbable on, and then we'll shift and click the two ladder pieces to connect them up, like so. And then we'll click the top piece, and instead of clicking this tile, we'll click this tile, the one like 20 times above it, right? And we'll right-click, navigation, climb. And you see how it's still lit up as if it will work. And that's because as long as the tile is above the ladder, it will work. But any tiles below or equal to the height of this the top ladder piece, you'll have issues with your ladder. So just make sure that it's at least 1 unit higher, and it will work. And you can even go to hilarious extremes like this, where it can be miles above, but it will still work. So let's just quickly save and test this just so you can see what it looks like. So if we climb this ladder, we go up to the top, you'll see that we'll teleport straight to the top. But we can still walk around it. And if we click on the ground, we teleport down to the ladder and then move to where we clicked. So the ladder on the right will always work as long as the tile that you're dismounting onto is higher than the top ladder piece. The one on the left currently isn't working because these tiles are lower than this top ladder piece. So let's try fixing the ladder on the left quickly. What we'll do is we'll just delete this ladder piece to get rid of the mounting points. Let's put a grass tile back. Let's clear the navigation. Grass tile down to 16. Let's get rid of that line. Like so. Paint that back. So, let's put our ladder piece back. Now this is at the same height, so this may or may not work, but we'll see. Climbable on. Select both of those, navigation, climb. Select this piece, which is at 16, as you can see. Shift click this piece, which is also at 16. Right click, navigation, climb. But in this case, we've got 2 arrows. Sometimes it won't. You need to check this arrow on your top ladder piece. If it's not lit up both, it won't work. But if it is, this will now work. So if we save and test, let's now climb up the left ladder. We can climb it, but we can also come back down it. Okay? So your mileage may vary if the tile is at the same height. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a bit of a 50-50. I would urge on the side of caution. I've often found it more often than not to not work at the same height. But, you know, it all depends on, I think it depends on the ladder you're using, the model that you're using. But certainly the rule of thumb, if you want a ladder that's guaranteed to work, just make sure that the dismount tile is higher than the top ladder piece, okay? So the last thing to talk about is how do you make your own ladder? Let's get rid of this ridiculous scenario we've got here. Let's just get rid of this. We'll get rid of this ladder entirely and let's make our own. So let's get rid of this section. So let's talk about making your own ladder. So what we'll do is we'll make a new resource. So click the new resource button. This is going to be a tile because remember, ladders need navigation. And let's make this 16 by 16 by 16. So a complete square. And we'll call this ladder 2. Okay? And it's going to be impassable. Right, so we'll just quickly throw something together. It doesn't have to be too amazing. So we'll just click. Add a couple of voxels. Let's do it this way. Okay, and then select everything, copy, paste, move it across, except, so there's the sides of our ladder, and then we'll just quickly add some rungs in. Okay, and then we'll select the rung, copy paste, we'll go up a couple, accept, paste, go up a couple, accept, paste, go up a couple. All right, now down one, accept, paste, and then we'll just do two more, like so. It's not going to be completely symmetrical because you'll notice there's one at the top, but two, a gap of two at the bottom, but it doesn't matter, okay? Just point is just to demonstrate. So there's our example ladder that we've just made, okay? So once you've modeled your ladder, then what you need to do is the most important thing you need is an attach point. So what you're going to do is you're going to click the Create Edit Attach Point button and click somewhere on your ladder. Let's click here, for example. And you need to call it Climb with a lowercase c. Okay? Make sure there's no spelling mistakes. So Climb with a lowercase c, click OK, and there's the attach point. And let's just edit it slightly. Going to raise it up just a little bit, using the mouse wheel just to slightly change the value. So there's our attach point. Let's save the model. And then the other thing that you need in order to make climbing work is make sure that you've got a player model that first of all has an animation called climb. So again, it needs to be a lowercase, all one word, climb. Okay, if we go to that and play, so this is this particular player character's climb animation. And in the frames of your climb animation, so in this case, let's go to the model properties, scroll down to animation. Let's drop this down and select climb. You can see that the start frame is 24 and the end frame is 26. So it's literally just this. Let's go to 24. So this is frame 1 of the animation, 2 and 3. So these are the 3 frames of the climb animation. And notice how in all of these frames, 1, 2 and 3, there's this attach point here. If we select that and go to the attach point properties, we can see that it's an attach point called climb. It's spelt exactly the same with the right capitalization, i.e. all lowercase. It's exactly the same as the one that's on the ladder. Okay, this is how your player gets connected to the ladder. They need an attach point with the same name, and they also need an animation with the same name. And in those animations are obviously your frames of your character climbing the ladder, but those frames need to have the climb attach point. Okay. Now notice how this attach point only exists in these frames. If I go to frame 24 or 23, it's not there. Why? Because it's not needed. This is the def animation. You're not climbing at that particular point. So you only need climb attach point, in the frames of your climb animation. Okay? So in this case, just those 3 frames. Okay? As long as you've done that, your character will be able to climb the ladder. So there is one other thing we need to address with that though, but we'll get to that when it comes up. First of all, let's put our ladder into the map. So we'll go to place tile mode, select our new ladder, come down to ground 1, click to place, go up a step. But now because we made this 16 by 16 by 16, whereas this one's 16 by 16 by 15, we don't have to go down one now. We can just jump up to 17 and it will automatically place. We don't have to come down one because we've taken that into consideration. Now we're going to have an issue here because this ladder piece is now at a height of 17. This top tile here is at 32. If I was to place another ladder piece, let's just do 33, it would now be above the top floor, and therefore it wouldn't work. So in this case, I'm just going to leave it like that. That ladder will now work. So I'm going to, first of all, add the navigation back, select my ladder piece, make it climbable, select the other piece, make it climbable, shift and select both of them. Oops, I selected the wrong thing. Select just the ladder, right-click, navigation, climb, select the floor in the first piece, right-click, navigation, climb, and then select the top piece, and then the dismount tile at the top, right-click, navigation, climb. There we've got our lit up ladder. All arrows are lit up. Let's go test it and see how it looks. I'm not expecting it to work flawlessly, and I'll show you why. So let's try climbing up our ladder. So we go up to it, we can climb it, so let's press C. Oh, we're facing the wrong way. So this is the next thing that some people encounter quite commonly with ladders, especially ones they make themselves. Why is your character facing the wrong way? It might be facing completely the opposite way, like in this case, or you might be facing to the left, you might be facing to the right. Point is, you're not facing the ladder. Very simple to solve. If we take a look at the ladder that works, if you take a look at the attach point, let's select it. In fact, we don't have to select it. Let's just select it from here. Attach points climb. You can see that the Z rotation for this one is 180. Okay, so even though we're facing the front, we're looking at the ladder from this perspective. The actual attach point is facing us. It's rotated 180, looking back at us. So you need to do the same thing with your ladder piece. Now, it will all depend on which way you're facing. So if you're facing like we were, which was facing completely the wrong way, having your back to the ladder, then yes, this needs to be rotated 180. If you're facing to the left or to the right, then it's not 80, it's 180, it's 90 or 270 or something like that. You'd have to amend the rotation to fit your scenario. But in this case, it's definitely 180, because if we take a look at the attach point on my ladder, the one I just made, the Z rotation is at 0, and we're facing the wrong way. So if I make this 180, now I will face the right way. So if we save that and go back into the game, now if we climb the ladder, we connect to it properly, and if we go up, there we go, and if we go down, there we go. So we've got our working ladder, okay? So, custom-made ladder, made by hand, and we've made it work. That brings us to the end of the video. So hope it was useful. Hope you found it informative. And if you have any questions on ladders, feel free to reach out on the Discord. But hopefully this should clear up any issues related to, first of all, how to make them by hand, also how to place them in the map editor and set them up, but also just to be mindful of, how the tile that you're getting off of the ladder onto, how it relates in height to the top of the ladder. If it's above, it will work, but if it's below, and sometimes even at the same height, it can sometimes, that will sometimes cause issues, but if it's lower, it will always cause issues with the ladder. I'm not sure at this moment, I'm just checking this, I'm not sure if it's a bug that needs fixing or if it's just how ladders work, but certainly as of filming this, that's how you make ladders work. If you want them to work reliably all the time, just ensure that the floor that you're the height of the tile that you're trying to get off of the ladder onto is above the ladder, okay, above the top piece of the ladder, okay? So that brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more tutorials.